Atomfall. It's that game we've all been waiting for. Fallout set in the Great Lake District in the north of England. But is this game what people expected? Well, stick around and find out. No, it's not. But hold on a minute. Does that mean this game is a bad game or not worthy of your time? No. It's one of these games that's kind of become a victim of its own hype. Because what's happened, really, is it's obviously taken, like, inspiration from themes from the Fallout series. Like, it takes place after a nuclear event, and there's bunkers in the game, and it's first person, and it's heavily based around dialogue. It's got big mech units in it. It's called Atomfall. Like, they weren't shy on their influences in that sense. But what happened is when the game started, you know, releasing trailers, everybody jumped on that and was like, this game is Fallout set in Yorkshire. Well, it's not. It's not that. But that's kind of what people expected. And to be fair, Rebellion didn't exactly do anything to put out those fires. They never once stepped forward and said, look, it's not actually quite what you think it is. But why would they? The game garnered a lot of attention because of that. And there's probably more people playing the game on release day as a result of that. I mean, I am. That's why I'm playing it. But it's still made by Rebellion Games. So there's always this doubt in the back of my mind that could Rebellion Games really pull off a deep RPG in the same way that Bethesda did with Fallout? And the answer was no. But once you set aside what people's kind of preconceived expectations of what the game was going to be and actually play the game for what it is, it's still a good game. If I'm totally honest with you, what I think Atomfall feels like is one of those kind of ambitious indie games. Like, there's a lot of great surface level ideas in the game, and there's a lot of things that you could see if a bigger studio made it, it would probably, you know, kind of be a lot more in depth. Like, there's a lot of areas where they're just kind of scratching the surface that could have been explored in a deeper, more meaningful way. And I guess for some people, that's what they wanted. But what is there is fun, and it's easy to play and get the hang of. And it's definitely a little bit wonky. Actually, it's quite a lot wonky. Oh, he's purple, isn't he? Alright there, lad. Chill out. Relax.
What the hell?
What the fuck? But it's that wonkiness that we're okay with. It's not like wonky that's going to destroy the game for you. Yeah, you get pulled out of the immersion from time to time, but it's the kind of wonky that you can have a bit of a laugh with. The kind of wonky that Bethesda kind of became famous for when they started releasing Fallout games. The game is definitely not a deep RPG though. The game is more like a Metro or a Stalker. The whole thing is based around the interactions that you have with the people in the world, the things that you find out. There's not really like a set objective to follow, and there's not an order in which you can do things. You just kind of go out there, find a piece of information that gives you a lead, and then you go to that lead and find another piece of information which takes you to the next place, and so on. All the while in between, you're avoiding nasties and killing enemies. I think the game thinks it has a survival element to it because there's like a light crafting system and a stamina system. Your inventory management is kind of a nuisance because you don't get that much inventory space to work with. You have to find items to craft things like bandages and health potions and buffs and so on. But really, it's all very surface level. Like, if you think about the Last of Us style crafting system, where you just find assorted scrap around the world, a bit of tape, a bit of glue, that sort of thing, alcohol, and then as if you're completely stupid, you have to find specific recipes to be able to build specific things, like you wouldn't already know how to make a bandage. But then you learn how to craft new things, and then you craft them, and then they take up a slot in your inventory. You can't stack things in your inventory, so there's a bit of inventory management in there. But things like food you collect will stay fresh forever. Your weapons don't have durability. You can keep them forever. It's all just very basic in that sense. And that's kind of a theme throughout the game, really. The gunplay is basic. The mechanics are all basic. The world is fairly basic. The survival elements are basic, the exploration's basic, the collection of things is basic. But the thing is, everybody expects every single game that comes out now to be reinventing the wheel. And it just doesn't have to be that way. Atomfall, as a game, is just fine. And that's okay. It's going to take you about 15 to 20 hours to complete this game. And in that 15 to 20 hours, I mean, you can pretty much do everything in the game. Despite what people expected the game to be, it's not built to be like a 50, 100-hour RPG epic. It's just meant to be a game. It's just meant to be exactly what it is. A small 15-hour campaign that's pretty easy going. And yeah, and that's what it is. And like, if you view it as that when you go into the game, it's fine. Where the game shines is how it kind of makes you feel like a detective of your own destiny. You basically wake up in a bunker, you have no idea why you're there, you don't fucking remember who you are or anything. You don't know where you are, you don't know what's going on, and you've just got to go out into the world, talk to people, and find out what's going on, uncover the secrets of the game. And in that sense, Rebellion have made a game that is quite in-depth. Yeah, I've talked about a bunch of different elements that are surface level, but with the investigation mechanic, it's anything but. And it's quite smart as well, because you can go out into the world and you can follow any direction. You can follow any clue that you pick up. You can kind of do whatever you want to some degree. And what the game will do is recognize when you have spoken to other people, recognize the things that you have in your journal, the things that you already know about the world, and the NPCs will adapt to that information. Something that games that are much more in-depth and much bigger have failed to do, like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, for example. It's not very good at keeping track of its own dialogue, and you end up in these situations where conversations could be a bit jarring because they're telling you something you already know, or the NPCs themselves will say something that kind of directly contradicts their mood or their attitude towards you, or the thing that they say next, like their generic speech lines. That doesn't happen in Atomfall. So if I go see person A before I go see person B will know that I've spoken to person A. So it allows you to unravel the story and carry out the adventure as you see fit. Weapons in the game are plentiful, bullets in the game not so much. But also there was never really a point where I was struggling to arm myself. So again, the game's survival elements are pretty light, but it suits the pacing that the game wants you to go at. There isn't enough of a world to be going out and grinding to be able to move on to the next part. So allowing you to be well equipped enough to just keep continuing and moving through the game is a design choice that is probably intentional. One of the things that's definitely not intentional, I don't think, but actually ends up helping out in the game is how wonky some of the AI can be. So a thing that kind of annoys me, and I'm also okay with in equal measure in Atomfall, is that every time you kind of go near an enemy, like if you're in their line of sight at all, they will be alerted to you to some degree, and they'll be like, hey, we don't want no trouble, or something like that.
Let's take this nice and slow, huh? Let's have no trouble.
He's got a gun. And it almost gives off the impression that maybe they'd be willing to have a conversation about things. There might be some dialogue options there so that you didn't have to get into battle. But that's absolutely not the case. If you don't get out of their line of sight when they say, look, we don't want any trouble, then they'll just start fucking shooting at you. Oh, fuck. Whoa. And it pretty much devalues the stealth options in the game to almost zero. I mean, you can do it and you will do it. It is helpful to kind of like move around places or get yourself in a position where you feel ready to take on the enemies. But realistically, if you want to get somewhere where enemies are, you're going to have to fight them. You're going to have to kill them. There's no other way around it. But also that system just kind of unearths all these wonky mechanics that happen with the enemies from time to time. Like, you might enter an area that says that you're trespassing, and then somebody in that area will spot you trespassing and become alerted to you and start moving towards you. But then you will leave that area, you know, because that's what the guy asked you to do. But then if the guy can still see you in his line of sight, even if you're out of the area that you were trespassing in, he's still annoyed by you and will start following you around. Whereas other enemies outside of the area are okay with you being there. Why is he still mad? Fucking hell. Just relax, pal. And that has happened to me on a number of occasions so far. But in its own way, it is actually kind of helpful, because what it means is you can lure enemies out of areas that you need to get into and wander around in, because they'll follow you out of the place. Also, enemies are not intelligent enough to follow you into buildings. So if there's anywhere at all that there's a loading screen in between an area that you move to, they just won't come after you. So you can be trespassing in an area and a guard might become alerted to you, start moving towards you, and then you go through a door, and then that's it. They just don't come through that door after you. Again, these are all the things that have kind of made it feel like an indie title to me, but also the kind of things that I'm just like, fine. Listen, if this game came out in the Xbox 360 era, people would be like, yes, this is top-notch stuff. And that doesn't mean to say that we shouldn't expect more out of developers these days, but it also doesn't mean that when I load up an Xbox 360 game, there's not things there for me to enjoy about it. Like, I still enjoy a lot of old games. And a new game that feels like an old game, it's not such a bad thing. The game world and the conversations and the people that you meet is really charming, especially for me being from the north of England. Like, it feels very warm and comforting to meet some of these characters and chat with them. The facial expressions though, some of them are fucked. Some of them are properly fucked. Cheers, love.
You won't watch yourself out here in the Dales. Outlaws all over the shore.
Whoa, did you see? Watch the facial animations.
Well, you won't find any boffins left here now. I get right gossipy when I'm trading.
That's what I do. A lot of these characters look like they're tweaking, which I guess is kind of like talking to some people from the north of England. You could argue realism. The worst bit about the game are the little fucking like infestation enemies that come after you, like bats and rats and these little fucking annoying dick worms that come at you when you're in the water. I'll toss a grenade into water. Will that actually help? What do you reckon? That minced them. Has it fuck minced them? I've just wasted a grenade. Oh my god, I just got killed by dick worms. And you have to stomp on them to get rid of them, but they just come in such quantities that it's absolutely ridiculous that you would ever have to do that. And they do like tiny bits of tick damage, but it's so fucking annoying every time it happens. Ultimately though, Atomfall is a good time. It's a good time for some of the right reasons, and it's a good time for some of the wrong reasons. And what I mean by that is, the things that they've done well in the game, they shine. They are good. The things that they've not done so well in the game are sometimes just fucking hilarious. There's nothing in there that's really going to make you go, wow, this is god-awful, or this is really killing my experience. The people that are reviewing the game well are understanding this concept, and the people that are reviewing it poorly are doing the whole thing of like, the game has collapsed under the weight of its own expectation, but the expectation wasn't really set by the developers. It was set by what the people expected out of the game based on the themes within it. It's basically a decent 15 hours of gameplay, charming NPCs, a decent enough story, and a nicely detailed investigation system that incentivizes you to explore the world and to find things with side quests that do pique your curiosity. I'll be honest with you, the single most annoying thing about this game is that it's set in the north of England and it doesn't have a weather system. It's sunny all the time. That's the most fucking outrageously unrealistic thing I've ever seen in a video game. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Atomfall. It's not reinventing the wheel. It's not a game that's going to be up for Game of the Year. It's not one that you're going to come away with and be like, wow, that was the best 20 hours I've spent in a video game in a long time. But it's also not one that you're probably going to think, this is total dog shit and I really feel like I wasted my time with it. Xbox Game Pass was provided to me as a PC Game Pass partner, which is where I played the game, so I didn't have to pay any actual physical money for it. But look, before Xbox gave me Game Pass for free, I was paying for it already and I would have continued to pay for it. And this is a decent addition to a growing library of games that is like kicking ass this year. I mean, I know I don't do many game reviews in here, but I would give this game like a 7 out of 10. It's fine, it's good, get it played, especially if you have Game Pass, because you've already fucking got it sat there in your library. Anyway, that's it from me for today. If you like the video, please leave a like. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. Let me know down below if you have played Atomfall and what you think of it, and I'll see you in the next one.